Welcome back, everyone, to the Global DNA Series 4. Today's title is called Cosmic DNA, and I'm joined with the fabulous Eva Marquez. Eva is a spiritual counselor, healer, teacher, writer. In her spiritual work, she utilizes her inherited Pleiadian energy. She remembers light, the language of light, along with many other ancient soul memories, and works with her guides, lights of the universe, who are a collective group of light beings from various star nations, the Pleiadians included. She also works with her higher self, who on occasion enjoys visiting others in dreams during meditation and gives assistance to healing if needed. Eva's mission is to teach people about their personal power so that they can be their own guru. She also brings back memories of infinite love from God. Love is the most important tool we have with each other. She is dedicated to assisting those who need healing at all levels. She works with people who have terminal illnesses, mothers who are expecting a child with birth defects, fallen into deep depression or despair, people who have lost hope, suffocated by fear, feel alone, and those who have been physically and mentally abused. Anything else that needs assistance or guidance. She works with ancient DNA and assists star seeds to activate their DNA, their memories, and to connect with their soul family. She is here to show you that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that through love, we can reach that light. Thank you so much for joining us, Eva.
Thank you for inviting me to be here. Thank you. I'm excited.
You know, I personally feel that these conversations that are around genetics right now are so important, especially when so many people are having contact experiences. And contact experiences are becoming a normal part of our everyday kind of situations. And so we're in an opportunity right now to tell a bigger, fuller picture of our genetic story, our genetic inheritance. And part of your genetic inheritance is Pleiadian. So I would love to just for you to tell us a little bit more about your story and how you came in contact with the Pleiadians and your divine memories.
Oh, all right. I'll be more than happy to share. Let's start with this one, because you had this very beautiful opening that we are having so many experiences and visitations in our dream, even in one awakening state from these extraterrestrial beings, right? And which we believe are our ancestors. And one of the reasons that they shared with me is why they're doing this. It's to remind us that they are our ancestors, that we are them. So eventually, when we do have that contact, we are not all freak out. We literally realize that we are alien beings already living in the human body or having these human experiences. But when it starts, it usually, we question if we are normal, how this is happening. And I'm going to be abducted, because we watch way too many scary movies and we are already programmed that this experience may be not for our best interest. You may wonder why they should not be for our best interest. So I always have been different since I was little. It took me many years to put together the picture that Pleiadians have been in my life since the birth. I would see the mandalas in my mind. I would travel through the universe. But all that was really offset by very bad childhood, by abusive and difficult childhood. And so through the suffering, I would have an escape in the night, in the dream state, into something that is much more nicer and better, that would sustain my energy into the adulthood. And with that, I think we can all start understanding that what happened to us in our earthly life or in the early life will literally prepare us to remember who we are. So as bad as it sounds, it may be something that we have put in our soul contract with our soul family, with those extraterrestrial who says, oh, don't worry, we're going to come visit you and you will remember, to help us to remember, because when we reach the bad, we are able to reach the good as well. I have seen the UFO twice growing up in the Czech Republic, which is interesting. There has never been this weird experience. So I was thinking about it for the past few weeks, because somebody asked me the question, how did it happen? And I could always feel the spirits. I would be so afraid of the spirits, but I would see the UFO. I would be like, oh, hi, everything's okay. But it wasn't until my first child was born and I really tried to experience this, what it is that I'm feeling, what is it that I'm afraid of? Because I definitely didn't have this, oh my, I know, this is absolutely great. I was like, oh God, what is happening to me? And I read the book, Open the Channel by Sanaya Roman, which is a phenomenal book that will teach you these opening steps to the channeling. Because even though we are born with abilities, we still have to learn how they work. And at least that is my, opinion about it. And one day I would wash the dishes and there would be this male presence beside me who would say, can you? And I was like, oh, can you? I guess I must be my guide. Finally, people talk about it. And I had a hard time to get to that experience. So I was thrilled, but it was this emotional feeling, like a memory inside of me. And then can you said Pleiades. And I'm thinking, what is that word Pleiades? What does it even mean? So as many of us, I go to Google, and this will be about good 15, 16 years back, probably, not a long time ago. And the constellation pop up on the screen. And I was flooded with the tears, with the emotions, with instant memory, like something that consciousness inside of me have a moment of the remembering. Not the full one, just is like, oh, home. Oh my God, there's this energy I have never felt on the earth. And then a little bit after, I start at the same day, speak the language of light, which I didn't know for many years. It's the language of light. I thought like, it must be the gibberish, how my guides are speaking. And so that's how it all started. And then a few years after, when I turned my abilities into my work, um, it all started with one client asking me if I would help him to develop his psychic abilities. And so I was like, yeah, let me channel something. What is going to be that? And that's where the Kenyu started to bring the lights of the universe, and we turned the psychic attunement into the DNA activation. And literally from the DNA activation, which was literally just this opening to your psychic abilities, all this star nation, the beings started to coming. And it has never been the same since then. And it has never been the scary. It's just a little part that comes the scary, but the rest of it is actually phenomenal.
I think that scary part is just this epicenter of not knowing what's on the other side. And there's so much when you connect with higher dimensional beings, you can feel how much possibility there is. There's a different type of quality to the consciousness that they have and the realm that they have been creating in, that you start tapping into all of these different types of possibilities and communications, and it's almost like an energetic racing starts to happen through the body and through the mind. And it does feel a little like anxiety, but it also feels very thrilling and open and expansive and supercharged.
Yeah.
And when we allow ourselves just to have the tools and the techniques to um, bring us back into our 0 point in our center, so that we can then be in the we'll say the creative control of that, and as the experiencer, then I think we start to let go of the fear part and move into the actualization part. And what does this really mean for me? Like, if all of these things are true and they're happening and I'm experiencing them, and I can start to feel my DNA start to change, what does that mean for me as a super being now? And so what did that start to mean for you coming into your super beingness?
So I think that, in the beginning, when we come to it, and, us starting coming to this, that 20 or 10 years ago, maybe we didn't have enough information, right? So there would be more this fear space of whatever happened to us in the childhood we carry with us. But now there are more information assistants up here. So when we bring that higher dimensional consciousness and the energy in our body, it teaches us to adjust this body, that the body doesn't have to have all that anxiety and panic attacks and the feeling, all of it, but we need to adjust that cellular structure of the body. It's not only the story and how we feel, but it's literally how we take that feeling and transport it in our genetics, how our genetics of this physical body that we have, which is still three-dimensional body, when our consciousness is higher dimensional that we are assessing, right? We are learning to do this. And that was, I would say, the most important things that Pleiadians would start teaching me, because as the Kenyu and the Pleiadians came, it also came the Lyme disease. And I think that was my learning point. When they would say, you are a healer. I was like, no, I can do the readings. I can do this and that. And it was like, oh no, you are a healer. I would not listen to that. So the Lyme disease was what got me into the healing and literally learning to understand the body and physicality of it and cellular structure of it, and how we can make that energy compatible with our energy, because I think that is the way how do we evolve and how we can understand them. Because if we are here and we're having that, the initial experience, all right, to be on the spaceship and get some adjustment, or traveling in our planet and remembering our past, how do we bring that knowledge that we can sustain it in this body? Because you can go up there and you can go in the body and it says, well, I had a phenomenal meditation. I just can't remember what I did, but it felt good. I can't remember what I did. I get to download. I don't remember what it is, but it's going to come up. It's going to come up when we start adjusting that cellular structure within us, which literally means to do something physical for the body, the yoga, the qigong, the tai chi, and start merging the cosmic, bodily, and the earthly energies, and slowly allow our cellular structure to readjust itself. We don't have to go through the gazillion of the weird illnesses that's going to bring us to the energy healing, because the modern medicine has an approach that may not be helpful to us. And I'm not against the modern medicine. I think the medicine and the holistic field will find a merge, because that's probably going to be the way we, or at least that's what they say, that's the way that we should go in the future. It's not one way or the other way. So adjustment and the learning and helping the body in that evolution, instead of separating ourselves. This is the human that I don't like. And I think that's the biggest thing in these ways. People awaken, right? We realize that we are starseed and we hate the human experience. We hate the human body. It's because, yes, you remember this super consciousness that when you bring into the body can become the superhuman. We all love to watch this like superheroes movies, right? We go like, yes, the Iron Man and the Doctor Strange is my favorite, and so much on. I know we all have our favorites, right? And then you go like, but so much limitation. So we have to take it and start asking those questions, our soul families. How do we transform this body to overcome these limitations? Not to overcome, how we help the body evolve out of these limitations and become those superhumans, because that's what they really want us to be. Because out of this body, as members of our ancient soul family or star family, alien family, whatever fancy word we want to give it to it, we are here to do the job, right? To carry on some mission. If we could do it from that higher upper part of the planetary system, we would never be here. At least I don't think we would be here to going, through these struggles and the boot camp and evolution and awakening and remembering and God, all that.
Yeah, I definitely see the Western medicine and energy medicine and sound vibrational medicine starting to merge and become one, and that there will be different levels of techniques of how to treat the physical to, all of these different subtle bodies that we're experiencing with our ascension. And so many people are leading the forefront of that right now. And I think in that we're starting to see that there are aspects of scientists and science and physics and quantum physics that are starting to catch on to the quantness of genetics, and that this quantum nature of DNA is conscious. And the consciousness part is the part that is evolving the entirety of our genetics and this planet. And that will be a super science, a super physics, where we know that our consciousness is affecting all the outcomes, and we'll start designing experiments and technologies, knowing that at the very molecular structure of what we want to create or what we want to experience, we get to program the outcome. We get to start designing the outcome of how we want energy to move, because that's our superpower. And if we keep neglecting the fact that we have this beautiful, conscious, multidimensional quantum superpower in the field of creating, we are going to be subject to control and domination throughout many lifetimes still. I mean, this is the part of why I think that we're experiencing all of our galactic family and inheritance right now, is to show us that we are not just human, to show us how gifted we truly are through dimensions and what we can create, not only when we create as a unified humanity, but also as a galactic unification with our galactic family. And so what do you feel is your definition of cosmic DNA, and what mission is it playing here? Like what are the missions that are playing out right now for us as we are becoming in unification with our galactic family?
All right. When you talk about it, I can totally envision see all these beings and excitement of the dimension and the stuff. And what comes to my head, it's like, it's like, okay, what do you want to say? And we go back into the body. So what they're showing, I think what they are teaching us is that what we find in the many ancient teachings, our body is the microcosm of the macrocosm. I sometimes get confused with the English words. And so they take us up there and we see all these dimensions and consciousness and oneness and vastness and very, highly intelligent life. But then we come back into the body and they says, well, okay, how do you find it into the body? How do you upgrade the body? So what I was taught, or I was taught to explain it and see it, is through the meridian pathways. Like look into the body. When you go, whatever I find up there, I can turn it back and I look into the body. The body itself is a star map. We can find all this extraterrestrial DNA and the imprints of the starseed families within our bodies. And that is our clue. Sort of, take it up there and says, where is it in my body and how can I program it in my body? So I may go a little bit around, but I think you and I will end up at the same point of this, yes, we have this superpower, we have a consciousness, and we have absolutely right. And we are we are destined at this time to do this upgrade and take that sovereignty and pre-program this body instead of be controlled for God knows how long. So one of my hobbies is to read the acupuncture books and do the acupressure. I am not trained in that, but I definitely find a passion in it. And starting to connecting the organs and meridian pathways to our soul families. So the gallbladder within our body. And when I talk about it, I want you to all imagine that you walk inside of your body and the body is like your inner earth. And so this is the new book that I'm working for. The gallbladder would represent this beautiful forest on the island that you walk to. According to Chinese medicine, gallbladder holds the energy of choices. We can choose, but you have to choose through your gallbladder pathway, which goes from the top of your head over your body down to your toe. Now, Gallbladder Meridian is connected to the Orion star nation. Orion is the mind, the universal mind. And I totally accept that we can have a different point of view with the organs and the connection, how it is. But we are all learning and putting up bits and the pieces of the puzzles together. So if to me, the Orion would represent the gallbladder, the 3 stars, the belt of the Orion actually are 3 meridian points that goes over your hip, side of the body and the hip. They will shift the mind energy through the belt into the ego energy. So if I'm connected through the Orion, I can meditate with the 3 pyramids in the Giza that would align it as well. Don't have to be in the Egypt whatsoever. And I can go in the universal mind, and it is the mind that I access my super consciousness, that logical thinking kind of the path. And I says, okay, I have a choice. I have a choice that today I will reprogram my DNA within the body from the 3-dimensional survival cells into 5th-dimensional evolutionary cells, because it all have to start our cellular structure from the inside out, goes from the cells, it's stimulated by the nervous system and going all the way out in the body. Now, if we look at another organs, another one I was shown is the heart. Heart is the seat of our soul. Now, the heart, the seat of our soul, to me would be connected to Pleiades, because they are the soul healers. They are very much connected to that energy of the soul. Now, the soul likes to communicate through the spleen. Spleen, if you look into the medical little bit knowledge and so much on, and again, the Chinese medicine, spleen send out the impulses into the bone marrow to make a new cells. So there's an exciting, again, now how does it look from there to here? So I have an Orion and I have a Pleiades. So here I have 2 major DNA imprints, mind and the soul, which is the core of the reprogramming. Now, there's an interesting facts in the body, which I always find so exciting, because meridians, pathways, and the points are documented from the time of the Yellow Emperor, which is probably about 2,500 years before the counting. And of course, it's probably much, much older than that. It comes from our soul family. Here, oh God, I forgot the number of it. But here, like on the rib cage, you have a point, a gallbladder point that's called moon, sun and the moon, which is your mind energy and your soul energy. This point actually feeds into your spleen. So my choice today, I choose to redesign my body with a 5th-dimensional, consciousness that talk about it, that super consciousness that we harness, or that we connect ourselves into, sends right away signal to the spleen. Now the spleen right away takes the signal and send it into the bone marrow. And he says, okay, there's a lot of bones in the body. Which part does it go? Can we navigate this cellular creation? Sort of like you give yourself a cellular transplant, cell transplant, that is today becoming a common thing. Well, believe it or not, it was the last week I was binge watching The Ancient Aliens again. I think we all are kind of like a little addicted to that show. You can watch it over and over and over. And there's this episode about the crystal skulls, right? So we all have seen many times, season 6. And then you wonder, like, we have to start to asking, I think, the right questions, because they all go into the universal mind. Our soul family wants to help us, all of them. They have that, imprint in our body, that consciousness in the body wants to awaken and give us the answers. But we have to start asking those answers so they can give us the answers. So I'm watching these crystal skulls, and I says, okay, 13 skulls, 13 soul families. Our DNA is 12 plus 1. Again, I know that we all having, the different opinion about it. I think it's completely fine. I says, there's not only the 13 people that will be aligned to the 13 skulls, how each skull from the soul family talks to us and talks to a particular organ within the body, because there are 10 organs plus blood, circulation, immunity system, and the 13 stands for the nervous system, for your central and governing meridian. So in a way, there are 13 main pathways in the body. There are 13 skulls. So my question was, where I will direct my cells that they will have the most effective way to reprogram this body, to recode this body. So there's something that I teach in the soul healing. And one of the hand positions they use for the soul is the right hand over your spleen, left hand over your left side of the head. I was like, kind of came in one of these channel things many years ago. I was like, okay, they say this way, it feels right, I'm gonna do it. There are meridian pathways and the point that you stimulate, but this is the point. I'm sorry, I'm going too fast or too long around these crystal skulls. So if I take this crystal skull, and I would say, so each family can take the imprint of the crystal skull in the body, that means that we can, that's what they talk about the crystalline body, to be able to energize our bones with a super consciousness to make us into superhuman. But that has to happen through the bone marrow. So I would start questioning, is there bone marrow in the skull, in the human skull, which I didn't know. So I go and Google, guess what? In the 2018, Harvard University released the article about the findings of the bone marrow going through the skull, very thin layer that has an open membranes that can right away release the cells into the brain membranes. I use the, not correct the language, but we get the picture, which if there's going to be some medicine, let's say delivered through this bone marrow here, it can right away, be sponged into the brain. It can be breakthrough healing for the Alzheimer, dementia, and all, brain connected to problems or the illnesses. If that is true, then that way I can direct my cells from the spleen simply by putting the one hand on the other transmitter on the left hand, and I can start create my new program of cellular rejuvenation and so much on. I can send it in my body. So this is sort of, the gift of the Orion and Pleiadian beings. There are other soul families who have a, take in all our body. Now, the last part, what I would like to add to this, because I want everybody keep trying it, because I think this will definitely upgrade our body into that more superhuman body. It's not only a logicality that here I am, right hand on the spleen, left hand on the head, doing the transfer. We have to add the feelings. Feeling is the key, emotion and the feeling, not only the logical part of it. That is why we take the logic from the Orion and we take the feelings and emotions from the Pleiades. So the fifth dimensional cellular consciousness to me would have the vibration of unconditional love, of that stimulated feeling like, oh, I'm so in love and there's my soulmate, or, I love my kids or my garden, whatever does it for you. It doesn't honestly matter. But that is the higher consciousness, because this cellular structure that we have today is programmed by fears. That's what it is. The fears help us to survive. And that's just the program of this body, whenever we like it or not. And so if we reprogram it in the unconditional love, in that like beautiful love that makes you to do impossible, that I think is that opening pathway into a superhuman, into the heart mind consciousness. Because even with this energy, we will be able to reach the much more sophisticated technology than we have today, because we become super smart, but we cannot self-sabotage ourselves in the love area, in that heart area. Just, put that smartness ahead of the feeling. It has to go hand in the hand, so we will not distract ourselves. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I get
And
so
I love
passionate
that.
about it. I'm sorry.
I can see that and I love it. Thank you so much for being so passionate about it, because your passion is what is the feeling that people get of that new type of possibility, that new type of hope of, there's so many layers to patterning, our mental patterns, our physical patterns, our energetic patterns. And so when we start to learn and start to experience, when we have these patterns, how we can unpattern ourselves and repattern ourselves, and that it makes sense and it works, that's super hopeful for people. I mean, some of these patterns are ancestral, and they're not just ancestral, they're from past lives. I mean, these are, archetypal structure patterns are patterns that have been repetitive through many lifetimes. And so when these patterns start to present themselves and we are able to very tangibly show ways of experiencing and seeing how to repattern this entire body for optimization, for evolution, for a 5D consciousness. And I think that the the most important part is that this is our superpower. This is the power of our consciousness, is architecting ourselves. We already architected this body, architected many bodies and many different species. And so that now we get the opportunity in this now present time to be able to transcend the past, present, and future through the consciousness of choice of architecting this body now in this moment. So I love the work that you're doing. It's so important.
Thank you. It is definitely exciting.
Yeah. And so when we take a look at a pattern developing, a pattern doesn't just develop in the brain or with a thought process. It develops systematically through the whole entire energetic field through dimensions. And when we when patterns start happening is they actually create a web of a certain type of structure through the brain, through the cellular system, through the organs. And when we're able to go in and um, take a look at the actual patterning parts, because the patterning part, these light fibers. The light fibers hold holographic information through the field. And when we start to change them and the fabric starts to move and becomes pliable again, movable again, and it starts to have its normal toroidal spin on it, then more source energy flows through the body. And it starts to create an entire new mechanism of dimensional field fabric around us. And then that allows us to start tapping in to entirely different types of consciousness, whether it be, you want to call it 5D density or dimension or just consciousness. It allows us to start tapping in and being able to coherently hear these frequencies through the body. And those frequencies are the aspect that starts tuning all of the cellular structures to what they're going to be next. And
That is,
so
yeah.
go ahead.
If I can add to it, that's actually a really good point what you said. If we look at this patterning, as you said, we are born into already ancestry of the patterns. And then, we realize that we are the extraterrestrial beings into human body, yet we do have to deal with the patterns that this body has been weaved together and hold together in that cellular thing. So let's look at the patterns as the pictures, the stories, pictures literally. And every picture, every story to be put into the motion needs a sound, needs a frequency. And so that, so to me, the patterns is like the vertical energy, and the frequency and the sound would be, the patterns is the horizontal energy, and the sound would be the vertical energy that keeps the movement, and then it's merged together. So it's exactly as you said, you have to look at the patterns and you have to recognize it. We cannot really just to go and give ourselves a new cellular transplant, because a pattern eventually will swallow these new cells, and they're not going to hold in the way as it would like to be. So understanding a pattern, at least to some kind of the way, that happened, the 7 generations of the female of our family have been abused or have unhappy things, or we have this poverty pattern or whatever it is, then just to understand it and use that mental transmutation. I think Hermetic teaching teach very well about it, sort of looking at the positive and the negative aspect of it. Find the opposite of your pattern of what would you like to do. If I don't know, if I cannot accept my family and whatever happened, I cannot accept myself. I cannot solve it all with I love everybody. I have to start with acceptance, right? And that's the working with that pattern of it, because it's really hard to love somebody, even myself, if I don't accept them and accept myself. So then you have these missing links in between. But that When you start repatterning, you create a new story, and the new story get a new sound. It will sound different. And that new sound, that new frequency is that feeling what I was talking about that helps to reprogram that new cellular structure and help us to loosen this and be more connected to this and start assessing this a phenomenal gift. Like in many channelings, not in mine, but many that you read, they all go, the human body is such a phenomenal tool. It is such a gift. You have no idea what we have, what you have. And we all go like, are you serious? You have no idea what it is. And they're like, no. And especially because it's in the biological nature. We don't have any chips and implants or anything that would control us. Like that is a trouble for the future. We want to stay out of that because this body are capable of everything. I mean, body is capable to create its own DMT for its trips up there. You don't have to use anything else, which I found fascinating and definitely have been trying that many times. This body has a extraordinary abilities. So the one that I like to play lately with is the sense of the smell. We go with a sense of the smell. And I think this is coming to the superhuman that we are going, that we are becoming. And we go like the smell, the nose, okay, my food, my tea, my flowers. Well, the extraordinary sense of the smell sits in the first chakra. It's governed by the safety and security. And the sense of the smell is actually part of your time traveling ability. It can get you in the timeline, what you want to see, what you want to see your pattern. You can get all the way to the Egypt by smelling and tasting the honey, because we 100% know that we ate honey in the Egypt. If you can connect any kind of the food and the scent all the way down to the Atlantis and Lemuria that resonate with you, that's what's going to happen. Because the first time that we came here to the earth, we ate the food. We smelled the trees, we smelled the flower, the earth had some kind of the sense. So when we stimulate that, suddenly that sense of the smell is not only like dinner smells good, I'm gonna go eat it. I can connect it to my meditation and to my travel. Each of this planet has particular smell. That is the seven senses or seven extraordinary senses that we have in the body are by the cosmic law. They are everywhere in this universe. In every body that we had, there's this kind of the sense. At least that's in my belief or the opinion. And if that is something that connects me to that, then that's great. It doesn't have to be necessary object that I had and I held in the Lemuria. It is just built inside of me. Because it would not be fair, in this lifetime, I'm not going to find a special object that I held in the Lemuria. Oh, well, not going to get that Lemurian energy. That's not fair. Or the Pleiadian energy. It's connected to the senses, and the senses are the mind's energy. Again, I'm going to go back to the Orion. The essence is that feeling of it and allowing yourself to go with it and go on that mushy trip of love and excitement and the joy. Once you marry together, suddenly you go like, wow, this body is phenomenal. And that's just the beginning. There's a healing ability, psychic ability, telepathic ability, remote viewing, right? When you can view life here, but you can view the life on the different planets, which you may know is 100% works. Now, we try to train ourselves, but it's really hard, like focus, training, discipline, but try with love. Now, this is an interesting part. I think that Pleiadians lately become a matchmakers. I don't think they mastered all that skill yet, but they are working on it. Anyway, the love is the very much energy that is awakening here right now, because if we fall in love with ourselves, with others, we will not be striving to have a wars and famine and all that stuff. But what I want to say about this, we all remember that feeling in love. And when you connect with somebody, and especially in these days, and you fall in love, it doesn't matter how long it's going to last, but you have that moment, right, with your soulmate. Suddenly, everybody says, we have a telepathic communication, we can feel each other. It felt like we just bilocated one another, and the love relationship, and everybody's heartbroken, and the psychic abilities are gone. But what if we are introduced to this kind of the feelings that, again, that will help us to remember who we are and how that energy is working within us. For some reason, the soul families cannot really come and spell it A to the Z to us how this works. Like They cannot give us the manual. I wish they could, but there's not really a manual. There's always this going around and find it within yourself. I think that we would, miss the evolutionary point. And I can totally hear to people says like, I would have been there, I've been starseed. Why do I do need this evolutionary point? What we are, in my opinion, what we are doing in this body is we're helping to evolve to human body in the quantum speed for the next generations. So in a way, it's like we are fine-tuning the car. We are helping to transform the regular car into the electric car that's going to be here for the future generations. So we're literally building a structure, a new template for the body. And especially, teaching those who are going to have a children, like I'm beyond that age, with all that. But there's going to be so many of these young people who will have a children, who will bring these children and their body already be born in that higher cellular consciousness and be more in those superhuman, and they will be the most fragile things that they need our support and need, for us to establish the structures that they can understand who they are, and instead of going to this like, oh God, I'm different, I'm messed up again, don't fit in this world, and to make them the most welcome and to be adjusted in this world. So we are literally, bringing the soul mind consciousness here, but we are helping to refurbish the bodies into that higher cellular consciousness. And I don't think that we are doing it for ourselves necessarily. Again, we are doing it to create these blueprints, light codes that will be easily activated from our body to them. So it's like when the ancient civilizations were developing, let's say in the Peru, they would teach the humans around how to do the farming, how to make the clothes, how to live in the community, how not to kill each other, and so much on. And so they are reincarnations of those ancients who have been star beings, who have been our ancient ancestors. We keep coming over and over. And I always said, okay, now it's time to teach how to evolve the body in the quantum speed and how not to overtax our nervous system, because if the body grows too fast without preparation, it takes a toll on the nervous system. And I think we can, and this is maybe a little warning that has to be taken the steps. We can see that on the people, or at least I consult quite a few people who may have an ayahuasca trip or some drug trip and have that fast rise of the consciousness, or the kundalini energy rise way too fast and opens you to both factors of the light and the dark, and the nervous system is not able to handle it, and you fall into this like, I'm how you would say in English, I'm hunted by the dark side, by everything that is up there. It's not true. Majority of it is not true. It's just that nervous system is overtaxed and needs to calm down a little bit. And that's what we are doing. Our nervous system can handle a little bit more, I think. And it's just helping the adjustment to create that templates for the others.
Yeah, when we have those experiences where we kind of awaken too fast and we're not prepared for it, I feel what happens is people lose the soul as being the prime directive of their experiences, and it opens up this space of incredible of like feeling lost because they lose the prime directive, the soul prime directive. One of the things that I really love that you shared about senses in the courses that we are working with 64 senses right now, and what we call synesthetic design. And so it's basically, how do we have psychedelic experiences without psychedelic experiences? What is actually happening in these experiences? There's time dilation, there's teleportation, there's dimensional realm, access. And so if we know that these things are happening and they can happen, how do we design them so that they are true communications of our soul through dimensions, instead of listening and paying attention to other substances or other types of beings, is that our soul becomes our field directive through multi-dimensions, and we're tuning ourselves in different ways to hear our own soul, the love of our own soul. And so, you know, holographic sight is one of those. Learning how to dilate time is another one. And how to smell color and to see dimensions and to hear dimensions. You know, how do we tune our ears into that next level of dimensional tuning, where we're starting to tune ourselves out of the distortion patterns here at, you know, we'll say at a 3D level, and that we have attuned ourselves into listening to a 7th dimensional level or 9th dimensional level. This is how we start bypassing all of these layers of, we'll say, false collective consciousness or lower vibrational collective or even AI consciousness of the planet, is by this, what we call sensorial design. And that we can design our own very detailed mechanisms of experiencing ourself. And I think this is what we're really truly called to do, because this lays the framework for the beings that you were talking about, all of these new souls that are coming in from other dimensional fields who aren't going to have, we'll say, the human physical karma that we've experienced, that we've cleared. We're going to be at an entirely new genetic level for this, and they are not going to have that. So what are they going to have? They will already have these experiences. But if we don't teach ourselves, if we don't start designing them with ourselves, we're not going to be able to relate to these beings. Not only have we cleaned the floor, so to say, or clean house for them to show up and to be a part of the evolution of this genetic coding, but now we get to design all of the quantum synesthetic soul experiences for us to be able to communicate the light language that's going to start coming through, the consciousness that's going to start pouring through. So I love that you brought that up. It's such an important topic.
Thank you. I love how you explain it. I think that's the best explanation I have ever heard. That is the soul-led experiences. I think I never heard anybody speaking that this way, and that is just so true and down to the point and easily understood. Thank you for that.
Oh,
That's really amazing. And what you said about these new souls. So what came out, I think it was yesterday in one of those sessions, they says, you know, it's time for the conscious conceptions again. Something that was practiced in the past, something that was very heavily practiced around the time of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdala, literally calling on these conscious souls, helping the clear pathway as much as for them, so they can really bring up that part of the evolution that we needed. And even though, you know, past 2000 years have been difficult, that is something that it needs to be rekindled again or remembered again when these people and partners will be ready for the baby in that, you know, more pattern and better conscious body, and they make the conscious conceptions with the souls who want to come here, because there are definitely those who will be combining, you know, the medicine and the holistic field and quantum physics and spirituality and everything like that, but eventually there will be a real proof and the definition that the soul is real, and that is soul mind consciousness that within us, that we just, you know, is and phantom is something we can't really touch, right? Or we can feel it, but it will be literally explained, and that is this portal through, you know, which way can we go, and we are becoming the multidimensional beings. So anyway, going back, the conscious conception is literally meaning for the conscious parents be consciously connected with the soul that is in the higher dimensional, really communicate with that soul. What is it that you need to clear in this body? What it is that we need to repattern, what it is from your life that you need to clear, let's say through the Akashic records or anything, you know, that is up there, and really prepare it for that birth. So I'm excited about the future. I'm really
Absolutely.
excited.
I think that there are so many women right now that are returning to the the consciousness of the womb and the power that it holds as being these stargates and portals for beings to come through, and
Yeah.
the importance of the stewardship of these portals for all beings, not just human but for all beings. And these beings are going to start are coming here, and what are they coming here for? If they're not coming to heal, we have to start asking ourselves, why are they coming here? Why do they want to come here in this dimensional reality through the physical human, we'll say, aspect, part of the physical humanist aspect? And it's because they are creators. And I think this is where our evolution is starting to head now, is the creator consciousness.
Yes.
These beings are not coming here to heal. These beings are coming here to create. They are coming here to liberate all holographic inserts
Yeah.
of false identities,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
personality constructs, of false soul constructs.
That is true. I totally agree with you, Abda. Did you freeze that for me?
And they're going to create love and liberation for all beings.
Yeah.
And they will be in a unified field with all animals, all planets, all elements.
Yeah. And if I can say, sort of the message to all the star seeds up here, because, sometimes they consider us like, what is wrong with them? Haven't they seen what's happening on the earth and they are coming here, because we are like trying to get out of here and they come here, right? I think this is a pretty good reminder. They are going to be born through our wombs, a human wombs, into the human world to assist in this evolution. So they coming here as a creators to be the creators to help us to remind us that we are creators as well. But I think important part is to create anything on the earth, you have to be born on the earth. If any of those, because they're literally looking at their consciousness and their body, even though they come to this conscious parents, they will lower their consciousness significantly to coming here. And the only way to create anything on the earth, bring the evolution to the earth, to help to free the earth out of the pattern, is to be living on the earth. Right. And that comes back to us. It's not that they can push the programs on the spaceship and do it from there. That all come back to us. We are here, same like they are going to be here. 2000 years ago, our ancestors, which we may have very well been them, were sitting there and they says, we're gonna bring the souls. They had the same exact conversation like you and I are having today. And they're gonna do this, and that. And we were like, yay, with all that stuff. So if you take it from the future and just to backtrack a little bit on the moment now, that's what we are as well. Every single one of us, every single person who listens us today or will listen us in the future will listen to this interview, right? Our talk that we so much enjoy. I think you need to realize it all starts with you. You are here. You are the creator. You are that excited being who was up there and saying, oh yeah, loving that down vibration, going into complete amnesia. Oh, sure, I can handle that. It's not a problem.
Mhm.
So what I don't want, then think like, oh God, I'm doing this hard work for everybody who comes, I'm gonna have it easy. There were those who did a hard work before us for us to be here where we are today. And so I do want everybody to acknowledge themselves as that amazing creator that you are, as the beautiful light being of the universe who came here into this body and says, I'm going to get it. I'm going to understand it. I'm going to repattern it. I'm going to bring the new frequency. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do it all. And from me, they're going to build up on it. So maybe that's going to bring a little bit more that, oh, I can relax with it a little bit and, stop hyperventilating and calm down that anxiety, that you are them and they are us whenever we look into the past or in the future. So that create a point where that is start from the moment of now from every single one of us.
Yeah. That's beautiful. We do not stand alone. We are standing on hundreds of thousands and billions of years of ancestors.
Yes.
And we are their prayers. We are the answer to their prayers.
Absolutely.
And these beings are the answer to our prayers, to all our highest intentions, all of our love, our good thoughts, all the possibilities of what we think that we are capable of.
Yeah. And, you can read in the ancient texts where they often say, we are you and you are us. And if you're still hearing our message, then we think that you still need it, or we still need it collectively. So we are still here. I think that it is good to remember the beginning of it, somewhere when we started on the earth. We are here because we loved earth. We fell in love with the humanity. We fell in love with the nature and with the animals, with everything. And it broke us down the way, when we had the moment of the hiccup and hatred. I think we all had, and then come to it. And once a while, we connect in the soul group, and it's so exciting. I think 21st century, as difficult as it is also very, very exciting to know that we are here back together and we have a backup. And we all can connect to that energy whenever it's from the future or from the past, but both of them. And you can feel that whatever you have learned in those past or from then, it's like deposited here in these dimensions, as you said, and when you learn with your senses to navigating through this dimension, you can assess those messages. And you can also go to the dimensions of the earth. There are the messages there as well. We didn't leave it only in the planetary dimension. We left it in the earthly dimension. And all maybe we need to learn is just to navigate through it, apply our senses. Don't need a smartwatch to do it, with all that stuff. Everything is in the body. The smartwatch is in the body. I didn't know where yet, but I'm going to find it. and that's what it is. And once you connect to it, there's the beauty with it. Like, when we started, I'm pretty sure that all the star seeds first we are the pagans, right? It was like paganism, like many years ago. And they're awesome, the witches and all that stuff, because there's something, the stories about the magic and the spells that literally leads into the energy. But wherever you find, whenever it's that, whenever it's the Taoism, yogism, Buddhism, or whatever it is that we call, and you feel that passion for it, find what the passion is, because there's your ancestors' message with it, and it's that feeling inside. See, we cannot take the book with us into the afterlife, or the smartwatch, or the chunk of the gold for the next life. That would be helpful, right? But we can deposit all this knowledge, passion, because same as we, with the patterning. And I found this very fascinating. There's something new I'm playing with. We often go into this, the things happen and I got killed and cannot do this, like the heavy patterning, like the fears factor. But if we have that, we also have the positive patterning up there. We just, because we have to come over that level of the fear to be able to assess it. And that's maybe, with those senses and so much John didn't mention, but it's definitely there with the patterns as well. How was it when I was the, the Tibetan monk, or when I was practicing yoga and mastered my rainbow body, or when I was the ancient Taoist? How was that? And you can go to those deposit of the information, and the feeling will guide you through it. And then you just have to pick the right book or right teacher to remember yourself. I think that a misconception sometimes is a little bit like, when you find out, you will download it inside of you and you have that instant knowledge. Well, it didn't work for me. I tried to slip with the books under the pillow and do all kind of the tricks. You have so many rocks on you and so much on that you remember. Even the spaceship didn't work for me, but it works when you find that right book and teaching. Your memory comes much faster. And I compare it, it's like, you know how to ride a bike. but you haven't ride it for the 20 years. And then you find a bike and you get the bike and you go like, oh my God, this is easy. I remember that. But you have to relearn that skill. So everything, even our extraterrestrial skills that we have that are deposited up there, we need to take that little time to relearn them, to understand them. How do they work? We cannot just assume that they're gonna be, working automatically, and when they don't, we just put them, on the side burner. And I think we all have a stories, when we like fully realize and awaken into our abilities, right? And you have this high, like, oh my God. And then the low comes like, what the heck is happening? Must be the negative aliens, must be the spirit, must be the curse from the family. No, it's just learning to how does it really work, like, because there's no manual. There's just like, oh, how does it work, and relearn it. And that, I think once you know it, it cuts down the time and creates those quantum jumps or quantum speeds, because now you're going to be learning. If I don't feel passionate about the Hermetic teaching, then I'm just wasting my time, as smart as it is. But if I, let's say, feel passionate about the cellular rejuvenation, for example, that can be, the part of it, of the study the inner alchemy and cellular rejuvenation, and that may be part for me. And that part is very different for every single one person. So look for that uniqueness, right, that we each have, instead of just fitting into the picture of everybody else.
I totally believe that the omniversal love is encoded in our uniqueness.
I do too.
Thank you so much, Eva. This has been just wonderful, and thank you for joining us. And you also have a couple free gifts. Would you like to share with everybody what those are?
Thank you first for having me here. The time just flies. I can talk with you forever, because
I
I'm pretty
know.
sure we can have several days of the conversations. Okay, the free gifts. You kind of cut me off the guard a little bit. What did I write that?
Sorry.
I know there are 2 programs that I offer that you can download for free. You will have a code to. Which one did I write there?
It's okay, because
so
it'll
sorry.
be out when we send out the email. It'll be in the email and everything like that.
Yeah.
I know that one is a course. I remember reading that.
There are 2 courses. You have, I think the one is the Starseed Awakening, or Remembering Your Starseeds, and there you have MP3 files and, the little writing. I do a lot of in the meditations, so there are meditations, and I think the another one is the Awakening to Language of Light. So enjoy them, enjoy them, enjoy them. I personally love them. I go back to my own meditations because I just love them.
I go back to my own meditations all the time too. And sometimes I get these like massive downloads over and over and over again. And so I totally get that. When something really comes through, it just keeps deepening and deepening and deepening.
Absolutely.
And so, well, thank you so much for being here, Eva.
Okay.
And I look forward to connecting with you again at some point.
The same here. Thank you so much, and good luck with everything that you are doing. And thank you for being a service to humanity. And thank you for incarnating in this time with the soul family here with all of us. We are definitely not alone. Thank you. I love you.
Love you too. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Please check out Eva and her free gifts, and we'll see you soon. Much love to you. Bye-bye.